The manila envelope sat on my desk like a live grenade. I stared at the contents, a DNA test report with two names, Ethan Reynolds and James Reynolds, father and son. Except the genetic markers didn't align. The conclusion was printed in sterile, unambiguous text. Probability of paternity, 0%. My son wasn't my son. For 18 years, I had built my life around a lie. My name is James Reynolds. At 46, I've spent the last 2 decades building Reynolds Investments from the ground up. What began as a small financial consulting firm grew into one of the most respected wealth management companies in the Northeast. I've never been the type to boast, but I've earned everything I have through discipline, strategy, and unwavering loyalty. Loyalty. That was always my defining trait, according to those who knew me best. My father instilled it in me from childhood. Stand by your family, honor your word, protect what's yours. When he passed away 10 years ago, those principles became my North Star. I met Lisa during my second year of business school. She was studying art history. Brilliant, beautiful, with a smile that lit up any room. We married within 18 months. When Ethan was born, I held him in my arms and made a silent vow that he would have everything I never did: stability, opportunity, and a father who was always present. Our life looked perfect from the outside. The sprawling colonial in Greenwich, Connecticut, Ethan excelling at Phillips Academy, Lisa chairing charity galas and managing her small but exclusive art consultancy, me growing the family business, securing our future. My younger brother Mark joined the company 5 years after I founded it. He had bounced between sales jobs, always just shy of success. When he called me, desperate and drowning in debt, I didn't hesitate. Blood is blood. I cleared his debts, created a position for him, mentored him into becoming a competent investment advisor. He lived in our guest house for 3 years until he got back on his feet. Lisa and Mark always got along well. Too well, I see now. They shared interests I didn't. Modern art, indie films, jazz clubs in the city. I was too busy building security for all of us to notice how their inside jokes evolved, how their casual touches lingered. The signs were there. The late-night work calls Lisa took in our garden. The weekend gallery exhibitions that ran mysteriously long. Mark's sudden interest in Ethan's school events when I was traveling for business. Still, I trusted, because that's what family does. The first crack appeared 5 years ago. I came home early from a conference in Chicago to surprise Lisa for our anniversary. Instead, I found wine glasses on the patio, 2 of them, and Lisa's earring beside the couch cushion that had clearly been moved. When confronted, she laughed it off. She'd had her art group over, lost track of time cleaning up. Then came the password changes on her phone. The unexplained weekend retreats. The credit card charges at hotels just an hour from our home. Mark changed too. He began challenging my business decisions, pushing for riskier investments, suggesting we leverage more of the company's assets. When I held firm, he'd mutter about my outdated thinking. At family dinners, he'd make subtle comments about how Ethan had his mother's spirit or artistic genes like Lisa's family. Last Christmas, I overheard them in the kitchen. Lisa was laughing softly, and Mark whispered something about when the time comes. They fell silent when I entered. Lisa busied herself with dessert plates while Mark suddenly needed to take a call outside. But the most damning moment came at Ethan's 17th birthday. Lisa presented him with an antique pocket watch, a family heirloom from her side, she claimed. Except I recognized it. It was identical to one Mark had shown me years ago, claiming it belonged to our maternal grandfather. When I mentioned this later, Lisa dismissed it as a coincidence. That night, I found her texting frantically in our bathroom at 2 a.m. Each incident was a paper cut, small, easily dismissed, yet increasingly painful when accumulated. The DNA test arrived 3 weeks before Ethan's 18th birthday. No return address, no note of explanation. Just scientific proof that my life was built on sand. At first, I refused to believe it. I told myself it was a cruel prank from a business rival or a lab error. But deep down, puzzle pieces were clicking into place. Ethan's artistic talent that mirrored neither my practical nature nor Lisa's superficial dabbling. His aquiline nose and hooded eyes, features I now recognized from my own brother. I ordered another test discreetly. A strand of Ethan's hair from his brush. A cheek swab I took while pretending to check if he had a fever. 2 weeks later, the results confirmed what I already knew. I sat in my study that night, a glass of scotch untouched before me, staring at family photos that now seemed like elaborate props in a play I hadn't realized I was acting in. The betrayal wasn't just the infidelity. It was the systematic, years-long deception. My brother and my wife had conspired to pass off his child as mine, to let me pour my love, my resources, my very identity into raising another man's son. Why? The answer came to me with sickening clarity. Money. My company. My legacy. Everything I'd built would eventually pass to Ethan, who they clearly believed would share it with his real parents when the time came. I was just the bank, the provider, the fool. That night, as Lisa slept peacefully beside me, this woman who had lived a double life for nearly 2 decades, something hardened inside me. Not hatred exactly, something colder, more precise. I realized that emotional reactions would only give them power. If I was to reclaim my dignity, it would have to be through the same methodical planning that had built my success. I decided then, this betrayal would not break me. It would be the catalyst for justice. My plan began with information gathering. I hired a private security firm through several shell companies to install surveillance in our home, my office, and our Hamptons property. Nothing illegal. Everything was on my property, in spaces where I had clear legal right to monitor. I had my company's IT department implement a comprehensive audit of all electronic communications, citing regulatory compliance. The evidence accumulated quickly. Lisa and Mark had grown careless over the years, confident in their deception. I discovered they'd been meeting at a small apartment in the city registered to one of Mark's shell companies. Lisa had a separate phone, kept in her art studio. Most damning were the recorded conversations where they discussed their long-term plans. James was always the fallback, Lisa said during one call. He'll keep Ethan and the family legacy safe, for us. And when he's gone, Ethan gets everything. Which means we get everything. Mark had laughed. Poor bastard thinks loyalty makes him strong. I documented everything meticulously. Meanwhile, I contacted my attorneys without revealing the full situation. I had them review my prenuptial agreement with Lisa, which she had always dismissed as a formality. To my satisfaction, the infidelity clause was ironclad. I also initiated a quiet audit of Mark's work at the company, discovering several instances where he had attempted to divert clients to a side business he was developing. Next came the financial preparations. I moved certain assets into trusts that couldn't be touched in a divorce. I updated my will with specific conditions regarding Ethan. Regardless of biology, I wanted him protected if he chose to maintain a relationship with me. I also established a separate legal fund dedicated to what was coming. Most importantly, I prepared for Ethan. I knew he was an innocent in all this. I arranged for a family therapist to be available, researched how to support teenagers through family trauma, and set up a separate trust fund that only he could access. Insurance against any attempt by Lisa or Mark to manipulate him financially. The final piece was the venue. Ethan's 18th birthday was approaching, a milestone already planned as a grand celebration at our estate. The guest list included extended family, business associates, and friends who had known us for years. It would be the perfect stage. I scheduled everything for maximum impact. The party on Saturday evening, divorce papers to be delivered Monday morning, company security changing all access codes Sunday night, and a board meeting first thing Monday to address Mark's position. As the date approached, I maintained a perfect facade. I attended dinner parties with Lisa, discussed business strategy with Mark, helped Ethan prepare his college applications. No one suspected that behind my calm exterior, I was orchestrating their downfall. The night before the party, Lisa kissed me and whispered, "I'm so proud of the family we've built." I smiled and held her close, thinking, "Enjoy your last night of lies." Ethan's birthday celebration was magnificent. The estate gleamed with lights, a string quartet played in the garden, and waiters circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. I had spared no expense. This would be a night no one would forget. Lisa wore a stunning black gown, playing the perfect hostess. Mark was charming as always, working the room, raising toasts to his beloved nephew. Ethan beamed with the attention, handsome in his first tailored suit, accepting congratulations on his early acceptance to Yale. At 9:30 p.m., exactly as planned, I clinked my glass for attention. The room quieted, and all eyes turned to me. Lisa smiled encouragingly, expecting my usual sentimental speech about family and future. "Before we toast to Ethan's bright future," I began, my voice steady, "I believe we should acknowledge the past and the truth." Lisa's smile faltered slightly. I nodded to my assistant at the back of the room. The lights dimmed, and a projection screen lowered behind me. "For 18 years," I continued, "I've had the privilege of raising an extraordinary young man. I've poured everything into being a good father, my time, my love, my resources. Family, as I've always believed, is sacred." The first slide appeared. The DNA test results, names clearly visible. A confused murmur rippled through the crowd. Lisa's face drained of color. "Imagine my surprise," I said, voice still even, "when I discovered that the son I've raised is not biologically mine." Mark stood abruptly. "James, this is neither the time nor—" "On the contrary," I interrupted. "This is exactly the time. When better to reveal truths than on the day Ethan becomes a man?" The next slides showed surveillance photos. Lisa and Mark embracing in his car, entering the city apartment, their intimate dinner at a restaurant 3 towns over. Lisa lunged toward me. "Stop this! You're drunk or having a breakdown." "I've never been more sober or clear-headed," I replied, stepping aside as she tried to grab the remote from my hand. "And there's audio." I pressed play. The room filled with Lisa's recorded voice. "James was always the fallback. He'll keep Ethan and the family legacy safe. For us." Then Mark's response. "Poor bastard thinks loyalty makes him strong." Gasps echoed through the room. Lisa's parents, who I had specifically invited, looked horror-struck. My in-laws had always treated me like a son. Now they stared at their daughter as if seeing a stranger. "Security," I called calmly as Mark started toward me. 2 men in suits stepped forward, blocking his path. "Mr. Reynolds is leaving. Please escort him out." "You can't do this," Mark snarled. "You're making a fool of yourself." "No, brother. You made a fool of me for 18 years. Now I'm simply showing everyone who you really are." As Mark was led away, I turned to Lisa, who had collapsed into a chair, sobbing. "Lisa, our marriage ends tonight. The prenuptial agreement you dismissed as mere formality has very specific clauses regarding infidelity and fraud. You'll be hearing from my attorneys on Monday. You have until noon tomorrow to remove your personal belongings from our home." She looked up, mascara streaming down her face. "What about Ethan?" "You can't keep me from my son." "Ethan is 18 as of today," I replied, "an adult capable of making his own decisions." I turned to face our son, who stood frozen, his face a mask of shock and confusion. "Son, I'm sorry you had to learn the truth this way, but I couldn't let you build your life on lies, as I did. Whatever you decide, whoever you want in your life going forward, I'll respect your choice." The room had fallen completely silent. Ethan looked between his mother and me, then to the door where Mark had been escorted out. His hands were shaking. "Did you know?" he asked Lisa, his voice cracking. "All this time, did you know Dad wasn't... that he..." He couldn't finish. Lisa reached for him. "Ethan, it's complicated. We can explain everything if..." "Did you know?" His face hardened in a way I'd never seen before. When she didn't answer, he had his answer. Ethan walked past her without another word and stood before me. For a moment, I thought he might strike me for the public revelation. Instead, he embraced me tightly. "You're my dad," he said, voice muffled against my shoulder. "You've always been my dad." It was the only moment of the night when my composure nearly broke. I addressed the stunned guests. "I apologize for turning a celebration into this. Please know you were invited tonight not as an audience to humiliation, but as witnesses to truth. There will be no more lies in this family." As people began to leave, murmuring in shocked clusters, I added one final announcement. "Lisa's parents, please stay. There are some financial matters regarding your daughter's future that you should be aware of. Everyone else, thank you for coming." The fallout was immediate and devastating, exactly as I had planned. The weeks following Ethan's birthday unfolded exactly according to my design. Lisa was served divorce papers first thing Monday morning. When her attorney reviewed our prenuptial agreement, he advised her to settle quickly. The infidelity clause, combined with the overwhelming evidence, meant she would receive nothing beyond a small settlement I offered out of practicality rather than mercy. She moved out that same day, taking only clothing and personal items. The prenup specified that jewelry and art acquired during the marriage remained with the primary property holder, me. Her Mercedes was repossessed. It was registered to my company. Her credit cards were canceled. Her name was removed from our club memberships, charity boards, and social registries. Within a month, Lisa was living in a one-bedroom apartment 2 towns over, working as a hostess at an upscale restaurant under her middle name, Marie. When mutual acquaintances reported seeing her, they described a woman aged beyond her years, wearing department store clothes, her once perfect manicure now chipped and neglected. She tried calling Ethan daily at first. He blocked her number after the 3rd week. When she showed up at his school, he walked past her without acknowledgement. The one letter he wrote her, which he showed me before sending, was brief. "I don't hate you. I just don't know you. Maybe someday, but not now." Mark fared even worse. The board meeting I called revealed his attempted client poaching and several regulatory shortcuts he'd taken. He was removed from the company immediately, his access revoked, his office cleared while he sat in the conference room, surrounded by security. The buyout clause in our partnership agreement allowed the company to repurchase his shares at a significant discount given the circumstances of his departure. The money wasn't insignificant, but it was a fraction of what his position had been worth. Moreover, I made sure word spread through our industry about his ethical breaches, not through gossip, but through factual disclosure where legally required. Mark's apartment in the city was mortgaged to the hilt. His attempt to secure loans was hampered by the sudden downturn in his credit rating. The debts I had previously cleared for him resurfaced through some creative financial archaeology by my team. By Christmas, he was living in a studio apartment above a laundromat in Newark, working as a commission-only insurance salesman. He tried approaching Ethan only once, at a coffee shop near campus. My son, and yes, despite biology, Ethan remains my son, recorded the entire conversation on his phone and shared it with me later. "You can't just erase 18 years, Mark had pleaded. "I'm not erasing anything," Ethan replied coldly. "I'm just seeing them clearly now." As for Ethan and me, we entered therapy together. The initial weeks were raw and painful. He had questions I couldn't always answer, about when his mother and Mark's relationship began, about whether there had ever been genuine love in our household. I told him the truth. I had loved him from the moment he was born, and I had loved Lisa completely for many years. The deception didn't invalidate the genuine moments we had shared as a family. By spring, Ethan had legally changed his middle name from Mark, a detail I had never questioned, to James. He asked if he could intern at the company during summer break, not out of obligation, he insisted, but because he wanted to understand the world I had built. As for me, I experienced a kind of rebirth. The weight of unspoken suspicions had been lifted. I dated occasionally, though without serious intent. I expanded the business into new markets. I traveled with Ethan during his school breaks, showing him places I'd always wanted to share with him: Rome, Tokyo, the Galapagos. Most importantly, I slept peacefully for the first time in years. Lisa tried contacting me only once after the divorce was finalized. She left a voicemail, her voice small and defeated. "I know you'll never forgive me, James. But please know it didn't start out as a plan. I did love you. It just... Mark and we connected in a way. I'm sorry. That's all. I'm just sorry." I deleted the message without responding. There was nothing left to say. The final piece of my revenge came on the anniversary of the revelation. I established the Reynolds Integrity Scholarship at Ethan's University, a fund dedicated to supporting students who had overcome family betrayal or abandonment. The press release mentioned no names beyond my own as the donor, but everyone in our circle understood the message. Lisa and Mark's betrayal had been meant to diminish me, to reduce me to a stepping stone for their ambitions. Instead, it had distilled me to my essence, a man defined not by naive trust, but by calculated loyalty, given only to those who truly deserve it. I rebuilt my life not around blind faith in blood ties, but around earned trust and verified honor. Ethan and I forged a relationship stronger than biology, one built on transparency and chosen commitment. The world believed I had lost everything. In truth, I had shed dead weight and emerged stronger, wealthier, and wiser. My brother and wife had gambled 18 years on a long con, only to lose everything in a single night. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I prefer to think of it as a long-term investment, painful at first, but yielding impressive returns when managed with patience and precision. In business and in life, the most devastating response to betrayal isn't emotional outburst, it's calculated justice. And justice, unlike loyalty, is something I never give away for free. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.